splashdown off the coast of California tomorrow, July 15th, around 4:31 a.m. Central, 5:31 a.m. Eastern.
Dragon SpaceX on the Big Loop.
As expected, the crew is now going to start doffing or removing their spacesuits and getting settled in for their 22.5-hour journey back to Earth, again with that splashdown targeted for tomorrow.
There, that is at the front of your screen is Commander Peggy Whitson.
Copy, 800 meters.
Commander Peggy Whitson confirming the spacecraft's altitude as it's making its descent into the Pacific Ocean just off the coast of San Diego in Southern California.
A little foggy, as you can see there.
Yeah, Pacific fog is rolling in.
We've got some very bright lights as Dragon, you can see the ocean there. Dragon is about to touch down in just a few seconds here.
And working their way towards the vehicle are the SpaceX and Axiom support teams that will be present for the next phase of our splashdown coverage today. At this point, we'll be waiting for confirmation of the crew's safe landing, and then superfan. I cannot imagine a more fitting astronaut to be able to give a name to a new vehicle. I love the messaging behind why they chose to name it Grace. And to your point, Jesse, about the frequent flyers, I loved that during launch we could see I don't know if it's a new tradition potentially, but we got to see some boarding passes that SpaceX provided
Yes.
to the AX4 crew, and because of her frequent flyer status, Peggy Whitson got a gold boarding pass, and I absolutely adore that she was able to have that distinction.
Yes, just add it to her resume.
Yeah, you can add it to the resume. SpaceX frequent flyer.
Yeah, I love the boarding passes. Again, always trying to make it as common as aircraft, planes that we fly on every single day.
Exactly.
And we're still just in the beginning, but I feel like we've made a lot of progress in the last 5 years, and we still have a lot of new things, new missions, and improvements that we want to make to, future spacecraft and launch vehicles. When the spacecraft is lifted up out of the water, it's going to seat into that ring that you see there at the end of the recovery vessel there. And once the spacecraft is nestled into the nest, it'll translate to a deck that meets the height of where the hatch on the Dragon spacecraft is. That'll enable the crew to egress or exit the spacecraft easily onto a platform in the recovery vessel.
And talking about the crew, Jesse, we've mentioned this idea of this kind of understanding the aspects of spaceflight, as mentioned earlier, being able to do STEM engagement on the mission, but also being able to spend time and honestly, your crew commander being somebody like Peggy Whitson, for Shooks and Suave and Tibor to be able to take that knowledge back to their response. Once they were in there integrating with the Expedition 73 crew, that AX4 crew was learning so much more. And it was highlighted in everything that they were able to execute, right? We mentioned earlier over 60 research projects, over 20 STEM engagements, outreach events. Over 18 days, that's an incredible amount of time packed into their timeline, just coupled with sleeping, sleeping and being there. And but also like the aspects that they're not timeline, but engaging with the crew, sharing cultural touch points, understanding each other, getting to learn each other. And they did have the benefit of getting to meet this Expedition 73 crew before their flight. So by the time they were opening that hatch, they kind of knew each other. And I think it's an incredible aspect of this mission for sure.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I wonder what their comms were. I'll meet you in space.
Exactly right. I wish I had the ability to say that. That'd be so cool.
One day when we're all able to fly in space.
All right, sounds good. I'll see you in space then.
See you in space, John. Looks like we're getting closer. They are pulling the spacecraft towards the recovery vessel. Looks like we're rigged up, and you can see the hydraulic lift moving forward and down. And then it will begin to lift the spacecraft out of the water and again into that Dragon nest that you see there on the recovery vessel.
Informations that we're getting a successful lift.
Dragon copies.
And again, those comms, crew can't see what's happening outside
Right.
of the spacecraft, so letting the crew know what's happening so they understand, you know, the vehicle moving,
Exactly.
what those different feelings are with the spacecraft moving around.
Trying to give crew some level of situational awareness of where they are and where they're going next. So Dragon will remain in the nest during the crew extraction and for the journey back into port. The spacecraft is currently was just lifted, as you saw, and set on the nest. And from here, it'll be centered and oriented. And then from there, Dragon will be translated into the hangar underneath the helipad aboard the ship so that we can then open the hatch. And once open, a SpaceX medical doctor will be the first one in to check on the crew to see if they are ready to egress out of the vehicle. And as we noted earlier, Axiom medical teams are also on the recovery vessel working in tandem with SpaceX staff to assess and assist the crew.
The astronauts will egress, or what we call exit, from Dragon's side hatch, pending spacecraft orientation in the water. Before opening the hatch, the spacecraft's cabin pressure must be equalized with the outside environment. Now, once the hatch is opened, that will be the Axiom 4 crew's first breath of fresh air since boarding Falcon 9 at the start of their mission on June 25th.
And that will be an exciting moment for the crew, I know. But for the crew and also for the ground crews, getting that first confirmation of your crew exiting the spacecraft, getting good medical checks, and then coming out and giving a thumbs up is something everybody wants to be able to see, and we'll be able to see it soon.
Yeah. And it looks like the flashing down, and then we are washing down the hatch area. Again, just preparing for the vehicle's side hatch to be opened. Getting some of that salt water off, maybe some of that plasma from reentry off.
Right, all nominal processes to ensure that that crew can safely egress the vehicle, but also that ground personnel are safely protected while handling the spacecraft and crew as well. So at this point, we can see SpaceX personnel positioning themselves to support in this, as well as the spacecraft making final approaches to that upper landing pad for crew to egress the vehicle. After that freshwater wash down of the hatch area, we're seeing some final wipe downs as well. For those with a keen eye as well, you could see on the side of Grace, as it was making its approach towards the upper landing, the Axiom logo proudly displayed on the spacecraft. We had some great shots during the docking footage of SpaceX, Axiom, making a beautiful image of the vehicle docked to the International Space Station. It's a little worn.
A little
but
toasty.
A little toasty.
A little toasty.
All part of nominal ops, though.
3,500 degrees Fahrenheit
That'll
will
do
do
that.
that.
Dragon, SpaceX, standby for side hatch opening and egress of some smiling faces.
Here we go.
All right, we're looking forward to it.
They are just about to open that side hatch. And again, first person that'll greet the crew will be the medical officer.
The hatch is open, and ground crews are making first contact with the Axiom 4 crew.
And you see that square looking tool, that's just a protector for the hatch seal for while the crew egresses. This is a reusable vehicle, so we are protecting both the crew as well as the spacecraft, making sure there's no damage that happens and that the crew doesn't bump their head on anything on the spacecraft. Looks like we're getting, the crew's getting some first photos.
Yeah. That's a good sign that they had good initial comms with medical personnel. So this time we are now just, if you're just joining us, we're waiting for the AX4 crew to egress or exit the Dragon spacecraft, also known as Grace, as part of the conclusion of their more than 20-day mission to the International Space Station.